Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our channel, Honest Hockey Takes. Today, we'll be continuing our fantasy hockey series.
Yeah, so what we're going to do today is last episode we gave you our 10 players to target, 5 each, because they were going way too low and they were too good at steals. Now we're going to do the opposite. We're going to give you 10 players to avoid drafting at where they're currently going based on their average draft pick. And I'm going to start you guys off with JT Miller of the Vancouver Canucks. Now I know that seems insane because JT Miller put up 99 points last year and just had a terrific season. Like, this guy was unreal. He was driving the whole offense for the Canucks, but he's currently going at 21.7 overall average pick. And you know what? I don't think there's any chance he repeats that season with 99 points. I think Pettersson's going to be a heck of a lot better this year. And I think that second line is going to do a lot of damage. And I don't think JT Miller is going to break 90 points again. So I just can't draft him up there with some of these guys that can.
Yeah, but JT Miller, he's a very good player. He's going to drive their offense. He's still extremely good. But the thing is, I just don't feel like he's top 20. I just don't feel like he's going to get 99, 100 points again, like this upcoming season, especially with the emergence of Elias Pettersson. That's going to be better. Brock Besser is going to score more. And you got the new Russian kid,
Kuzmenko, who's looking really good this preseason so far.
So we'll see how the team plays out. But JT Miller, I feel like he just signed his contract. And usually when players sign a big contract like that, they usually dip a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So for my pick, I'm going to go with a kind of a controversial pick right off the bat. And it's going to be Gabriel Landeskog from the Colorado Avalanche. Gabriel Landeskog is a very, very good player. He got 59 points in 50-some games last year. He's more in point per game. He also did 22 points in 20 playoff games last year. He's tremendously good. But the thing is, the problem I have with him is that I feel like he kind of did a little bit too good last year. I feel like at some point he's going to regress a little bit. And at the same time, I'm not keen on his injury history. He's always injured. He's never played really healthy seasons in the NHL. He has yet to do that. So that's why I have to put him at a little bit lower, because right now Yahoo has him at 30.7. I feel like that's a little high.
Yeah, that's like going in the third round. See, like, Landeskog as a player is great. His playoff run last year was fantastic. He was one of the big reasons why Colorado won that Stanley Cup. But I'm going to have to agree with Howin here, because going 30th overall in that like superstar like range, It just doesn't seem worth it to take Landeskog. This guy is no longer most likely going to play on that first line with Rantanen and McKinnon, because it's looking right now in training camp and in everything they've talked about is that's going to be Arturi Lehkonen playing that wing. So playing on the second line with Nishushkin and most likely Newhook, he's just not going to be able to replicate that season. So you're buying him at a high, and I think it's a little high. Like, it's too steep.
Yeah.
Next up, I got Chris Kreider from the New York Rangers. Now, this one I feel probably more confident about than almost anyone on my list. He's currently going at pick 26.8. So this guy is literally going early third round of drafts. And he is not going to get anywhere near his 50-plus goals he had this year. This was such an outlier in his career. He has played for over 10 seasons and has never had over 40 goals. And then he had 50 this year. So the odds of anything even close to that happening again are so unlikely. I wouldn't be surprised, even though he's playing on that top line with Zibanejad, if as high as he goes is like 36 goals.
Yeah, too high. It's way too high. I feel like he absolutely last year another outlier year where he kind of overachieved, scored too many goals. A lot of them were tip-ins, right?
Yeah, something like 1/3 of his goals were on tip-in plays in front of the net, which is so unsustainable.
Yeah, it's just not sustainable. I just feel like his scoring is unsustainable. I feel like guys like Panarin's going to pick it up this year. I feel like Lafreniere is going to pick it up. Those guys are going to start scoring more for the team. I feel like Kreider's going to regress a little bit. And that if you look at that line, Zibanejad is the main driver of that line.
Yeah.
Not Kreider.
He's relying heavily on the goal production for fantasy points, yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah. For my second pick, I have Andrei Svechnikov from the Carolina Hurricanes. You know, Andrei Svechnikov is a very good player. I get it. He was drafted second overall by the Carolina Hurricanes. I really like this kid, but at the same time, the way Rob Brimmer plays his lines, you can never know which line he's ever on. Like, some days he'll be on the third line, some days he'll be on the second line, and some days he'll be on the first line. You just don't know. It's like a mystery box. You just never know where he is going to be. And at the same time, in the playoffs last year, he just didn't do well at all. Like, he just was terrible. And he has never really had a point per game season yet. So, and I have yet to see this guy really fully blown up or fully break out into the player that I hope that he should be. Which is more than a point per game player. So that's why I have Andrei Svechnikov here. He's like a really good shooter, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, with the unpredictability of Rob Reimer's lineup, not knowing where he is on from a game to game basis makes me really worried drafting this guy really, really high. And as of right now, Yahoo has him at 37.5, which is a little too high in my opinion.
Yeah, it's nice that he hits and he's very physical and he takes a lot of shots, but this guy doesn't drive his own line, and he's yet to put up a point per game in his career for a full season. And he really just is kind of been a letdown because for 2 years in a row now, people have been expecting this massive breakout. He's been on everyone's list for breakout candidate, and he just hasn't had it done. Even last year when he started really hot for the first 40 games of the year, which he did, he was looking really good. We're like, okay, this is the year Svechnikov breaks out and like puts up 85 points. Then he fell off so hard in the second half of the year and the playoffs, he was just invisible. Like, he was just not there for that team. So I have to agree with him. 37 is way too early for this player. And number 3, this hurts me because I really love this player. But once again, these players are all good players. That's not the thing. We're just saying for fantasy purposes, they're going way too early. And that is Mark Stone. Going on average pick of 46.7. It's crazy to me. There's so many better players you can get, like even in the 80s and 90s, and he's going 47 like overall. That's too wild. The guy does not shoot a lot. He's not like some top tier goal scorer. He's probably going to, if he's healthy, when he's playing healthy at least, because I mean, I don't think he's going to play 82 games either next year because he's kind of been banged up a little bit the last 2 years. But he's probably just under a point per game player healthy. And I just don't think it's worth the injury risk mixed with the lack of production from shooting. And his line mates have he has Jack Eichel still, but whoever else is playing on the wing is going to be a significant downgrade from having Max Pacioretty.
Yeah, Mark Stone is a very interesting. I was not expecting that one, but yeah, Mark Stone. The problem with him is he's known as a defensive forward. That's number one. He's not really known for his mega offensive, superstar offensive.
Yeah, he's a great real hockey player.
Yeah, great real hockey player doing like both being a two-way hockey player. But in terms of fantasy hockey purposes, you want guys that can get a lot of points, get a lot of shots and stuff like that. I just feel like he doesn't fit the bill. And on top of that, with that high, projected that high by Yahoo, that's a little ridiculous. Like, he's always injured. Like, the thing is, I hope he stays healthy. I hope he plays at least 60 games this year, knock on wood. But at the same time, it's like, you don't know. We don't know that he can do that. So
yeah, it's a bit of a risk.
It's a huge risk you're going to take at that draft pick. If it's a later draft, that's fine. But that early, too early, I felt. My number 3 pick would be Mackenzie Weegar from the Calgary Flames. Yahoo has him projected at 81, which is kind of ridiculous if you think about it. Like, he's ahead of like guys that we talked about in the last video, like Miro Heiskanen and Thomas Chabot. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I can't see how he ever beats those guys in points. And the hits and blocks, he does get lots of hits and blocks, but in most scoring formats, that's not enough to overtake the pure points and power play points.
Right, agreed. And the main thing why I put Mackenzie Weegar in this list is because as of right now in the preseason, Daryl Sutter has not put this guy on the power play yet. Like, he's not neither on power play 1 nor power play 2, which is the big reason why fantasy leagues like to have defensemen so that they can get power play points or power play
be the quarterback basically.
Be the quarterback, right?
Yeah, especially at power play 1.
And the fact that he's not on neither power plays, he might get to power play 2 eventually, which is not good news for Mackenzie Weegar owners.
That power play 2 sucks too for Calgary. It's all loaded. It's front loaded on that power play 1.
Right?
Yeah.
Front loaded second unit is very, very bare.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like not even that much point of even getting a second defenseman on the second unit power play.
No, not really, no.
Right? So that's why I have Mackenzie Weegar on this list.
No, I completely agree with that for sure. Just because, like, once again, great real hockey player, good two-way defenseman, like nothing against Mackenzie Weegar, but it's just not going to be the point production you need unless he somehow nabs that power play 1 spot and plays with like Huberdeau and Kadri and Lindholm and those guys, right?
Yeah.
So I got our first goalie here coming up at pick 60.3 on average. I have Sergei Bobrovsky. Now, what's crazy about this to me is that he's going as basically the end of the 5th round as a goalie on a team that, in my opinion, did get a lot worse from last year. Florida's roster is not quite as solid as it was. I'm not saying they're a bad team. I still think they're going to get 40 plus wins as a team because I have them making the playoffs. But you also got to keep in mind, Spencer Knight is going to be biting into his workload a lot. They just signed him for $4.5 million a year for 3 years. He is their future. And to think that he's not going to play at least 30, 35 games would be crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, Bobrovsky will probably split starts with Spencer Knight this year. I feel like the emergence of Spencer Knight is going to eventually take over in the upcoming years. The thing is, Bobrovsky, I was never a big fan of him ever since he signed that big contract in Florida.
That's too much money for a goalie.
Way too much money, and he hasn't ever, to me, performed to that contract.
Not since he left Columbus, no.
Yeah, not even close.
He hasn't been the same goalie.
And you saw that in the playoffs there against the Tampa Bay Lightning. He still got outdueled in that. Even though he played really well in that series against Tampa Bay Lightning, he still got outdueled by...
Well, to be fair, the other goalie didn't allow almost any goals.
Yeah, exactly.
He allowed like 3 goals in 4 games.
And who's getting paid more money between the two goalies?
It's crazy. He makes $10 million.
Yeah, $10.5 million. Vasilevsky's making $1 million less than that.
Wild.
And he's arguably the best goalie in the league.
Don't overpay goalies.
Exactly. So my number 4th player on the list is also a goalie, and Yahoo has this guy at 95.2 for some reason, which is kind of crazy. And it's Jonathan Quick from the LA Kings. It's just like, this one is just a head scratcher to me. I just don't know how this guy is ranked so...
That's wild to me, considering they're probably splitting starts with Cal Peterson.
Cal Peterson's probably going to get at least 50% of the starts.
He might even get more than 50.
I think
he's supposed to be the future of their team, so I don't know what they're really smoking with Jonathan Quick at that age there.
Yeah, Jonathan Quick is old. It's just an old goalie now.
Stay away from that pick, guys.
Yeah, just stay away from Jonathan Quick, please.
Yeah.
There's nothing much more to say about Jonathan Quick. I feel like his best years are way, way, way behind him now.
So many goalies that are behind that are probably going to get you more wins.
Like Jonathan Binnington, I believe, is lower, correct?
Yeah, Jordan Binnington is like way farther down than that you can get. And there's other goalies too. It's not just him. There's like 3 or 4. But it just is wild to me that a guy who might only start 40 games and that's like over 35 years old is getting that kind of top 100 draft capital.
No way. Just stay away.
Yeah, please. Yeah. My final one here, I got one, once again, kind of like the Chris Kreider one. I got an outlier, a massive outlier. I got Matt Duchene going 76.8 on average pick right now. This guy had 43 goals and 43 assists last year. This guy has never gone anywhere near that. Literally the year before this, he played 34 games and had 13 total points. To think that he's going to repeat that 86-point season would be absurd. Like a lot of players on Nashville last year, they really overproduced offensively. Like whether it's Yossi, whether it's Forsberg, whether it's Johansson, but most of all, the reason I picked Duchene is because at least those other players, they have flashes where they've been good in their careers. But Matt Duchene has been a letdown for a 3rd overall pick. And where he's going right now, he would need to get over 75 points next year to make it worth the value. And I just can't see that happening in any way.
I don't see it at all. I mean, we said in our Central Division previews when we did review the Nashville Predators that we feel like there's no way. The main reason that we dropped Nashville as low as we did is because all these guys that overperformed, chance of them performing to that level again is very, very slim. It's probably not happening. And if you look at the career of, like Scott has stated, if you look at the career of Matt Duchene, last year was his best year that he's ever had as an NHL
at age
player.
31.
Yeah.
How wild is that? Everyone hits their prime in like their mid-20s.
Yeah.
This guy had his career at age 31. It's just unsustainable.
Yeah, unsustainable. And that goes with the other players on the team too, that I just don't feel like is sustainable. But in terms of right now, Matt Duchene, there's just no way that he's going to hit that.
No
way. My final pick would be Torrey Krug from the St. Louis Blues. Right now, Yahoo has them at 104.3, which is, to me, a little high for this player. He's a good player, don't get me wrong. He's probably going to get power play 1 when he's healthy. But I want to emphasize that when he's healthy. Because he's
rare.
never
he plays
healthy.
like 2/3 of a season.
Yeah, like if you look at last year, he almost missed like half the season last year. Like he barely played. So And
He also has to worry about that Scott Perenovich guy taking some of his minutes.
exactly.
Too. Yeah, on
Scott
the power play.
Perenovich is coming up, and he's looked pretty decent in the playoffs actually. So I don't know if you're Torrey Krug. I don't know. I just feel like he's a little high, and with his injury history, and I just feel like Scott Perunovich coming up, and sometimes Colton Parayko can sometimes take that role.
It's a lot of unnecessary risk for little gain. So even if he plays the full season, is this guy really ever going to get you 60 points? I don't think so. In 82 games, he might get you like 50.
Yeah.
But that's only if he's healthy and plays all 82. And a lot of these are going to be assists. He's not really a goal guy. He's very much a passer.
Also, he doesn't hit.
Yeah, you don't get a lot of bonus points from any hits or blocks, really. He's kind of soft that way. I don't know.
Yeah, so that's why I would definitely stay away from him in this high of a...
Too many better guys after that, guys.
Yeah.
Too many steals.
But yeah.
But yeah, that concludes our episode for our 10 players to avoid. And that'll also be part 2 of our mini 3-part fantasy special we're doing. So tune in for our last one, hopefully soon. Peace.
See you.